Heartbreak is a word heavy with memories, feelings, and unspoken stories. For anyone who's ever loved deeply, heartbreak feels like a wound that cuts to the core, as though you've lost a part of yourself. It's that sinking feeling in your chest, the weight on your shoulders that you carry wherever you go. Heartbreak feels like it might consume you, as if the sorrow is too vast to ever truly leave. And yet, if you're here with me now, you're looking for something. Perhaps it's relief, perhaps understanding, or maybe just a spark of hope. What if I told you that this heartbreak, this unbearable sorrow, could be the beginning of something transformative? That instead of burying your pain, you could work with it, allowing it to guide you to a place of deeper resilience, compassion, and inner peace. It might sound too good to be true, but history and spiritual wisdom tell us otherwise. And today, here on the Tranquil Mind, we're going to explore how to turn heartbreak from a source of suffering into a source of strength. Imagine for a moment that heartbreak is a path. It's not the path you expected or wanted, and it's certainly not an easy one. But just as a seed has to break to let a new plant grow, sometimes our hearts must break open to make space for something deeper, something that allows us to love more genuinely, to live more fully. In many ways, a broken heart holds within it the power to awaken us to life's greatest truths. And if we let it, heartbreak can be one of our most profound teachers. The teachings of Buddhism offer us a way through this journey, a way to face heartbreak not with resistance but with acceptance, not by shoving it aside but by letting it guide us toward healing. Buddhism teaches that suffering is part of life, and trying to avoid it only adds to our pain. Instead, by learning to accept and even embrace these difficult moments, we can find peace and a renewed sense of purpose. It's not about pretending that everything is okay. It's about realizing that even in our deepest sorrow, there lies an opportunity to grow. In the coming moments, we'll delve into Buddhist wisdom that can help us navigate this journey of healing. We'll uncover practices that soothe the heart, stories that illuminate the nature of true love, and tools to help us let go of the attachments that deepen our suffering. Heartbreak is never easy, but when we view it through the lens of Buddhist philosophy, we discover that it can be a catalyst for change, resilience, and even liberation. So, I invite you to come with me on this journey. Whether your heart has been broken by the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or even by unfulfilled dreams, this time is for you. As we step onto this path together, let's remember, every great journey begins with a single step, and today, that step is toward healing, understanding, and discovering a new way to love and live with openness and grace. Welcome to the Tranquil Mind, where today, we transform heartbreak from a burden into a bridge to something beautiful. Heartbreak is a universal experience. Across time, cultures, and continents, the pain of losing someone dear has echoed in the hearts of countless individuals. Whether it's the end of a romantic relationship, the loss of a cherished friendship, or even the death of a loved one, heartbreak feels like the rug has been pulled from under your feet. Suddenly, the world you knew, your plans, your dreams, your sense of safety, feels fractured, leaving you standing in the rubble of what once was. But what is heartbreak? Really? It's not just the loss of a person. It's the emotional suffering that arises from that loss. And as we unpack this pain, Buddhism offers us a profound lens through which to understand it. In its essence, heartbreak stems from attachment. In Buddhism, attachment refers to the emotional and mental clinging to people, objects, or even ideas. It's the belief that these external things will bring us lasting happiness and security. When we're attached to someone, we build an intricate web of expectations around them, who they are to us, what role they play in our lives, and the future we imagine sharing with them. But life, as the Buddha taught, is impermanent. People change, circumstances shift, and loss is inevitable. When our attachment is broken, whether by choice, chance, or circumstance, it feels like our very foundation has been pulled away. Heartbreak hurts so deeply because it doesn't just affect our present. It shakes the past and the future. We question the memories we shared. Were they as meaningful as they seemed? We grieve the future we envisioned. What happens to those dreams now? It's no wonder heartbreak feels so overwhelming. It's not just about the person. It's about the entirety of what they represented in our lives. Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I went through what I thought was the most profound heartbreak of my life. It wasn't just that the relationship ended. It was the realization that the future I had so carefully constructed in my mind was gone. I had envisioned a life together, shared adventures, a home filled with laughter, even the mundane things like grocery shopping together. And when it ended, it wasn't just the loss of the person I grieved. It was the loss of us, the we that I had built my hopes around. Buddhism teaches that this pain comes from expectation. When we attach ourselves to people, we don't just love them for who they are in the present moment. We tether our happiness to what we hope they will continue to be for us. And when reality doesn't meet those expectations, sorrow takes root. The Buddha's teachings remind us that everything is impermanent. Life is a constant flow of change. Like a river, it never stays the same from one moment to the next. Yet, as humans, we cling. We try to hold the river in our hands. And when it slips through our fingers, we feel the ache of loss. Attachment in itself isn't inherently bad. It's a natural part of being human. But unchecked attachment, the kind that turns into clinging or dependence, creates the conditions for suffering. For example, when we believe someone is essential for our happiness, their absence feels like the end of our joy. When we expect relationships to remain constant, any change feels like a betrayal. When we invest our self-worth in how someone else sees us, their departure leaves us questioning our own value. Buddhist philosophy encourages us to examine these attachments, not to suppress our love or emotions, but to love more freely without clinging. Imagine holding a butterfly in your palm. If you try to clutch it tightly, you harm it, but if you let it rest lightly in your hand, it can stay. And even if it flies away, you cherish the moment without regret. This is the essence of loving without attachment. After my heartbreak, I turned to meditation to make sense of my emotions. First, sitting with my thoughts was unbearable. Memories of our happiest moments would flood in, followed by the crushing realization that they were gone. But as I continued to sit, something began to shift. I noticed a pattern. My pain wasn't just about losing the person. It was about losing the idea of them, the version of them I had constructed in my mind. For months, I had been clinging to this imagined future, replaying scenarios of how life should have been. But as I meditated on impermanence, I began to see that this future was never real. It was a story I had written, and like all stories, it had an ending. This realization didn't erase the pain, but it softened it. I began to appreciate the moments we had shared, not as a foundation for a future that would never come, but as beautiful memories in their own right. One of the most transformative lessons Buddhism teaches is that suffering can be a teacher. Heartbreak has a way of revealing truths we might otherwise overlook. Impermanence is unavoidable. The sooner we accept that nothing in life is permanent, the sooner we can stop fighting against it. This doesn't mean we stop loving. It means we love with the awareness that every moment is fleeting, making it all the more precious. Attachment amplifies pain. By examining our attachments, we can start to distinguish between love and clinging. True love is expansive. It allows us to wish happiness for others, even if that happiness doesn't involve us. Attachment, on the other hand, is restrictive and self-centered. Healing takes time. Just as a physical wound needs care and patience to heal, so does a broken heart. There's no shortcut to recovery, but every step you take brings you closer to wholeness. If you're navigating heartbreak, try this exercise. Sit in a quiet space and take a few deep breaths. Reflect on the person you're grieving. What did they represent to you? Was it companionship, security, validation, or something else? Ask yourself, are there ways to find those qualities within yourself or in other aspects of your life? Journal your thoughts. Often, putting feelings into words can bring clarity and relief. This practice isn't about getting over someone. It's about understanding the layers of your pain so you can begin to heal from within. Heartbreak, painful as it is, has the potential to be a profound catalyst for self-discovery. It asks us to confront not just the loss of another, but the stories we tell ourselves about love, happiness, and fulfillment. As we move forward in this exploration, let's remember that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means transforming, using the shards of our broken hearts to build something new, something stronger, something wiser. And perhaps, as you walk this path, you'll begin to see that even in the midst of your pain, there's beauty to be found. When the storm of heartbreak hits, it can feel impossible to see a way out. But healing isn't about forcing the pain to disappear overnight. It's about guiding yourself through the storm, step by step, until you find solid ground again. These steps aren't quick fixes. They're tools to help you navigate the journey with grace, patience, and self-compassion. The first step toward healing is giving yourself permission to grieve. In a world that often values stoicism over vulnerability, expressing emotions, especially painful ones, can feel like a weakness. But grief is not a weakness. It's a testament to how deeply you've loved. Think of grief as a river. If you try to dam it, the pressure builds until it overwhelms you. But if you let it flow, it moves through you naturally. Crying, shouting, or even sitting in silence are all valid ways to grieve. Allow yourself the space to feel the depth of your loss. For me speciali, societal expectations can make vulnerability seem off-limits. The phrases "man up" or "boys don't cry" are ingrained early, creating an unhealthy narrative that equates strength with emotional suppression. But strength isn't about holding it all in. It's about having the courage to face your emotions head-on. I remember the first time I truly let myself cry after a breakup. For weeks, I had bottled it up, pretending I was fine. Then one night, a song came on, one of those songs we used to listen to together. The tears came like a flood. At first, I felt embarrassed, even though I was alone. But as I let myself cry, I felt something unexpected: relief. It was as if I had given my pain permission to exist. And in doing so, it began to lose its power over me. Grief is not linear. There will be days when you feel okay, followed by days when the pain feels fresh again. This is normal. Be patient with yourself. Healing is a process, not a destination. Once you've allowed yourself to feel the weight of your emotions, the next step is to share them, but carefully. Not everyone is equipped to handle your vulnerability with care, and that's okay. The key is to find someone who can simply listen. It might be a trusted friend, a family member, or even a therapist. Whoever it is, they don't need to fix your pain or offer solutions. They just need to hold space for you to express yourself. Be cautious about whom you choose to share your pain with. Some people, even with good intentions, can unintentionally make things worse. For example, if they encourage anger or hatred toward the person who hurt you, they might amplify negative emotions instead of helping you heal. I once confided in a friend after a breakup, hoping for support. Instead, they started trash-talking my ex, urging me to hate her for what she did. At first, their words felt validating, but soon, I realized they were fueling a fire I didn't want burning. I didn't want to carry anger. I wanted to find peace. So I turned to another friend who simply listened, without judgment or advice. Their presence was like a balm, quiet, steady, and healing. If you don't feel comfortable sharing with someone you know, consider writing your thoughts in a journal or speaking with a professional counselor. The act of externalizing your emotions, whether through words or conversation, can be incredibly liberating. Once the initial waves of grief subside, it's time to shift your perspective. This is where Buddhist philosophy offers profound guidance. Reflect on the impermanence of all things. Every relationship, no matter how beautiful or meaningful, will eventually end, whether through a breakup, a change in circumstances, or death. This might sound harsh, but it's actually a powerful truth that can free us from suffering. When we acknowledge that nothing is permanent, we begin to appreciate the present moment more deeply. Instead of clinging to what was or fearing what might be, we learn to embrace what is. I once read about a young woman named Sarah who lost her fiancé in a tragic accident. For months, she was consumed by grief, unable to move forward. Then she stumbled upon a teaching about impermanence. First, the idea that everything is fleeting only deepened her sorrow. But as she meditated on this truth, something shifted. She realized her pain wasn't just about losing him. It was about clinging to the future they had planned together. One day, she sat by a lake where they had often gone together. Instead of crying over the memories, she thanked the universe for the love they had shared. However brief it was, she began to see their time together not as a loss, but as a gift. From that moment, her grief didn't vanish, but it transformed. She could carry his memory with love, without letting it anchor her to the past. If you're new to this idea, here's a simple exercise to try. Find a quiet space. Sit in a comfortable position and take a few deep breaths. Visualize your connection. Think of the person you've lost. Picture a moment when you were truly happy together. Acknowledge the fleeting nature of life. Repeat to yourself, "This moment was beautiful, and like all things, it was temporary." Feel gratitude. Instead of focusing on the loss, focus on the joy of having experienced that connection at all. Let go of clinging. Imagine releasing the person from your grasp, not as a rejection, but as an act of love and freedom. This practice doesn't erase the pain, but it reframes it. It allows you to honor what was while opening yourself to what might come next. Grieving, sharing, and reflecting are not isolated steps. They work in harmony. Allowing yourself to grieve makes it easier to share your pain authentically. Sharing your pain creates the space for reflection, and reflection brings clarity, helping you see that while the loss may have changed you, it doesn't define you. These steps are like a spiral staircase. Each turn brings you higher, closer to a place of peace. But remember, healing isn't about reaching a perfect state. It's about learning to carry your pain with grace, letting it shape you into someone stronger and more compassionate. Through these steps, you begin to see heartbreak not as an end, but as a beginning, a journey toward greater understanding, resilience, and self-love. By embracing your grief, seeking support, and reflecting on impermanence, you're not just healing, you're growing into a version of yourself you might not have known was possible. And as you move forward, step by step, you might find that the very thing you thought would break you is what makes you whole. Love and attachment are often mistaken for one another. In the haze of emotions that come with relationships, it's easy to conflate the two. Yet understanding the difference is crucial, not just for healing from heartbreak but for cultivating healthier, more meaningful connections in the future. True love, as taught in Buddhist philosophy, is selfless. It's about giving without expecting anything in return. Attachment, on the other hand, is possessive and rooted in ego. It's the kind of love that says, "I need you to complete me," rather than, "I want to see you happy, even if it's not with me." By learning to recognize and shift from attachment to love, we not only free ourselves from suffering but also transform our relationships into sources of joy and growth. At its core, true love is expansive. It's about cherishing another person for who they are, not for how they fulfill your needs. When we love selflessly, we prioritize the well-being of the other person, even if it comes at a cost to our own desires. This doesn't mean neglecting ourselves. It means loving in a way that uplifts both parties. Think of a parent's love for their child. It's not transactional. The parent doesn't feed, care for, or protect the child in exchange for something. They do it out of pure love, with no strings attached. This is the essence of true love, giving for the sake of giving. Attachment, however, is different. It's conditional. It says, "I will love you as long as you make me happy, as long as you don't leave, as long as you fulfill my expectations." This kind of love isn't about the other person. It's about what they can do for you. And when those conditions aren't met, attachment often turns into resentment, jealousy, or despair. Years ago, I was in a relationship where I mistook attachment for love. I thought my intense need to be with this person, my constant worry about losing them, and my desire to be their everything was proof of how much I loved them. But over time, I realized that my love was suffocating both of us. I wasn't loving them for who they were. I was clinging to the version of them that fit my narrative. When the relationship ended, it felt like a part of me was ripped away. Looking back, I see that it wasn't love that caused my pain, it was attachment. Recognizing attachment in your relationships can be challenging. But here are some telltale signs. Fear of loss. If the thought of losing someone fills you with dread, it might be attachment. True love acknowledges impermanence and cherishes the time you have without clinging. Conditional affection. Do you only feel happy in the relationship when things are going your way? Attachment often comes with unspoken conditions, whereas true love is unconditional. Possessiveness. If you feel the need to control or own the person, it's likely attachment. True love respects the other person's autonomy. Dependence. When your sense of self-worth is tied to the relationship, that's attachment. True love allows you to remain whole, even if the relationship ends. Moving from attachment to love is a journey, but it's one worth taking. Here are some steps to help you along the way. 1. Practice mindfulness to observe your feelings. Mindfulness is the practice of observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It helps you become aware of the patterns in your relationships, what triggers your attachment, and how it manifests. Exercise. Take a moment to sit quietly and reflect on your relationship. Ask yourself, am I afraid of losing this person? Do I expect them to act a certain way to make me happy? Am I truly happy for their successes, even when they don't involve me? By observing these feelings, you can begin to distinguish between love and attachment. The goal isn't to criticize yourself, but to understand the dynamics at play. 2. Replace clinging thoughts with compassionate actions. Attachment often stems from a place of insecurity or fear. To counteract this, focus on actions that come from a place of love and compassion. Instead of worrying about what you're getting from the relationship, ask yourself what you can give. Example, if you find yourself feeling jealous of your partner's time spent with friends, instead of dwelling on those thoughts, do something kind for them. Write them a note expressing your gratitude for their presence in your life. Shifting your focus from taking to giving can help dissolve feelings of attachment. 3. Embrace impermanence. One of the most transformative aspects of Buddhist philosophy is the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is temporary, including relationships. While this might sound disheartening, it's actually liberating. When you accept that all things are fleeting, you learn to cherish them in the moment rather than clinging to them out of fear. A story of acceptance. A close friend of mine went through a divorce after 10 years of marriage. At first, she was devastated. She felt like a failure and couldn't imagine life without her partner. But as she began to reflect on impermanence, her perspective shifted. She realized that their time together had been meaningful, even if it wasn't forever. Instead of clinging to what could have been, she began to focus on the love they had shared and the lessons she had learned. Today, she speaks of her ex-husband not with bitterness but with gratitude. 4. Cultivate self-love. Often, attachment arises because we seek in others what we lack in ourselves: validation, security, a sense of purpose. By cultivating self-love, you become less dependent on others to fill these gaps. How to practice self-love. Daily affirmations. Remind yourself of your worth. Say things like, I am enough as I am. Pursue your passions. Engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment outside of the relationship. Set boundaries. True self-love means respecting your own needs and not compromising them to please others. 5. Redefine what love means to you. As you move through this process, take time to reflect on what love means to you. Is it about possession? Or is it about freedom? Is it about filling a void? Or is it about creating a space for growth? By redefining love in your own terms, you can let go of old patterns and embrace a healthier, more fulfilling way of connecting with others. Transitioning from attachment to love is not about suppressing your emotions or detaching completely. It's about shifting your perspective, learning to love with open hands instead of clenched fists. True love doesn't diminish when it's shared selflessly. It grows. It doesn't break when faced with impermanence. It transforms. As you navigate this journey, remember that it's okay to stumble. Old habits take time to unlearn, and healing isn't linear. But with each step you take toward selflessness, mindfulness, and compassion, you'll find yourself moving closer to a love that is not only free from suffering but also richer, deeper, and more authentic. In the end, love and attachment may look similar on the surface, but their outcomes couldn't be more different. One binds you, the other sets you free. Which path will you choose? Loss is one of life's certainties, yet it's something we often resist confronting. Whether it's the end of a relationship, the death of a loved one, or the natural evolution of life that takes us away from people and places we once held dear, loss is inevitable. What sets the resilient apart isn't their ability to avoid loss. It's their capacity to face it with grace, acceptance, and strength. In this part of our journey, we'll explore how to build resilience in the face of loss. Through mental rehearsal, reframing painful memories, and finding joy in new experiences, we can prepare ourselves to navigate the storms of life with a steady heart. Imagine standing on the shore of a vast ocean, watching the waves crash and retreat. You know the tides will come and go. It's the rhythm of nature. Similarly, life brings people, experiences, and moments into our lives, only to take them away when the tide changes. The question is, how do we prepare for those inevitable ebbs? Mental rehearsal is a powerful tool for building emotional resilience. By regularly imagining how you would cope with separation or loss, you train your mind to respond with clarity and calmness when the moment arrives. This isn't about anticipating tragedy with dread. It's about cultivating an inner strength that allows you to face life's challenges with an open heart. The practice of mental rehearsal. Create a quiet space.
Sit somewhere comfortable.
Free from distractions. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, grounding yourself in the present moment. Visualize a scenario of loss. Picture a situation where you are separated from someone or something you deeply care about. This could be a breakup, a loved one passing away, or even moving away from a cherished home. Allow yourself to fully imagine the emotions this would evoke. Imagine your response. Instead of succumbing to fear or despair, visualize yourself responding with acceptance. What would you say to yourself? How would you seek support? What steps would you take to heal? Focus on strength and growth. Reflect on the ways you've overcome challenges in the past. Remind yourself that you are capable of weathering this loss, just as you've weathered others. When we mentally prepare for loss, we remove some of its sting. Instead of being blindsided by change, we meet it with a sense of familiarity. This practice doesn't eliminate pain, but it equips us to navigate it with resilience. I once rehearsed the loss of a mentor who was like a second parent to me. They were in declining health, and though I dreaded the thought of losing them, I began to imagine how I would cope. I pictured myself honoring their memory by continuing their work, seeking solace in the lessons they'd taught me. When the day finally came, the pain was immense, but I wasn't consumed by it. The mental rehearsal had given me a roadmap for my grief. Pain demands attention. It's loud, insistent, and ever-present. After a loss, can feel like the pain is all there is, overshadowing every moment of your day. But just as a garden overtaken by weeds can still bloom with care, our minds can learn to reduce the focus on pain and make space for joy. Gradually shifting your attention. Acknowledge the pain. Ignoring or suppressing pain doesn't make it go away. Instead, acknowledge its presence. Tell yourself, this is part of my healing process. Set boundaries with your thoughts. If you find yourself ruminating on painful memories, set a timer. Allow yourself 10 to 15 minutes to fully feel the emotions. Then consciously redirect your focus. Engage in new activities. Loss often leaves a void. Filling that void with meaningful activities can help shift your attention. Take up a hobby, volunteer, or explore something you've always wanted to try. Celebrate small wins. Each moment of laughter, each instance of peace, is a step forward. Celebrate these small victories as signs of healing. Engaging in activities that bring joy and purpose isn't about avoiding pain. It's about balancing it. Just as the sky holds both storms and sunshine, our lives can hold grief and happiness simultaneously. After losing her partner of 20 years, a woman named Clara decided to take up painting, a hobby she'd always admired but never pursued. First, every stroke of the brush reminded her of her partner's absence. But over time, painting became her sanctuary. It didn't erase her grief, but it gave her a way to express it. Eventually, her art became a celebration of their love, capturing the beauty of their time together. In a small village nestled in the mountains, a grieving father sought solace from a wise monk. His young son had passed away suddenly, leaving the man consumed by sorrow. He couldn't eat, sleep, or find meaning in life.
Disperat for relief.
He approached the monk and pleaded, "Help me. The pain of losing my son is too much to bear." The monk led the man to a nearby river and asked him to sit by the water. "Watch the river," the monk said. "What do you see?" "I see the water flowing," the man replied. "It never stops." "Exactly," said the monk. "The river does not hold onto its water. It lets it flow, always making room for what comes next. Your love for your son is like this river, eternal, flowing, ever-changing. It doesn't end because he is gone. It transforms, just as the river transforms." The man spent hours by the river, meditating on the monk's words. Gradually, he began to see his grief not as a burden but as part of the flow of life. He realized that love doesn't disappear. It changes form. His son's memory became a source of strength, and his grief became a wellspring of compassion for others. The river's flow teaches us that we cannot cling to what was. Life is a continuous movement, and our ability to adapt to its currents determines our resilience. By embracing this truth, we honor the love we've lost while making space for new connections and experiences. Resilience doesn't grow in isolation. Sharing your journey with others, whether through friendships, support groups, or creative outlets, can provide the strength you need to keep going. Join a support group. Sharing your story with others who understand your pain can be incredibly validating. Create a tribute. Honor your loss by creating something meaningful, like a photo album, piece of writing, or even a garden. Find meaning in service. Helping others who are struggling can turn your pain into a source of healing, for both them and you. Resilience isn't about avoiding loss or pain. It's about learning to carry them differently. Each loss reshapes us, but it doesn't have to diminish us. By preparing for change, shifting our focus, and embracing the flow of life, we become not just survivors but storytellers of transformation. As you walk this path, remember, just as the river flows endlessly, so too does love. It changes, it moves, it evolves, but it never truly disappears. And neither does your strength. Heartbreak can feel like an ending, a door closing on the love and dreams you once held close. But as painful as it may be, heartbreak has the potential to open new doors, doors that lead to growth, self-discovery, and transformation. It's in these moments of loss that we are often stretched to our fullest, asked to dig deep, and discover parts of ourselves we never knew existed. The pain, though raw and consuming, holds the potential to reshape us in ways we might never have expected. If we allow it, heartbreak can serve as a teacher,
Imparting lessons in the empathy.
resilience, patience, and, most of all, acceptance of life's constant flow. In this part of our journey, we'll explore how to transform the pain of heartbreak into a source of growth. Through embracing the lessons of suffering, welcoming change, and committing to personal development, we find that heartbreak is not merely something to survive. It's something that can ultimately empower and define us. Heartbreak strips away the illusions we often build around ourselves and others. It forces us to confront the stark reality that love doesn't always follow our plans, and that even the deepest connections are subject to change. But in this suffering, we find some of life's most profound lessons: empathy and compassion. Heartbreak connects us to the shared human experience. When we've endured deep sorrow, we can better understand the pain others carry. Empathy isn't just a reaction, it's a bridge. When we feel empathy, we're able to connect with others on a level that transcends words. We feel their pain because we know it firsthand. Example story. Consider the story of Jane, a young woman who lost her first love in a sudden breakup. Her heartbreak was deep, but over time, she channeled her pain into volunteer work, offering support to young people struggling with mental health issues. Her experience of loss allowed her to connect with those facing similar feelings of isolation and despair. Through her empathy, Jane discovered a new purpose, and her heartbreak transformed into a source of healing for others. Patience in the face of adversity. Suffering teaches patience, both with ourselves and with the healing process. Heartbreak doesn't mend overnight. It's a slow journey that asks us to be kind and gentle with ourselves. This patience extends beyond ourselves and into our relationships. We learn to approach others with understanding, realizing that everyone is dealing with their own battles and burdens. Acceptance of the human condition. Heartbreak is a powerful reminder of our shared humanity. Everyone experiences love and loss,
Joy and sorrow.
when we accept that these are universal experiences, we find a sense of belonging within the human experience. We're no longer alone in our suffering. We're part of a vast, interconnected story. One of the most difficult but rewarding steps in transforming pain into growth is embracing change. When a relationship ends, it's natural to resist this change, to cling to memories, routines, and hopes for what might have been. But change is the essence of life, and it's in embracing this truth that we find freedom. Letting go of resistance. Often, we resist change because it feels like losing control. But as the Buddhist teaching of impermanence reminds us, clinging to what was only deepens our suffering. When we let go of resistance, we allow life to flow through us, unencumbered by the weight of our own expectations. Imagine your pain as a clenched fist. Visualize yourself slowly opening that fist, releasing the tension bit by bit. This is what it means to let go, not to erase the past or deny your feelings, but to release the grip it holds on your present. Growing through adversity, change, while painful, is the catalyst for growth. Heartbreak pushes us to reevaluate our values, rediscover our passions, and reconnect with parts of ourselves that may have been overshadowed by the relationship. In this way, loss becomes a stepping stone to a richer, more fulfilling life. Personal insight. After my own heartbreak, I found myself drawn back to old interests that I'd neglected. I picked up my guitar, took long hikes in nature, and started reading poetry again. These activities reminded me of who I was outside the relationship, and they reignited a sense of passion and curiosity. I realized that, in many ways, the relationship had limited my growth, and now I had the freedom to rediscover myself. Heartbreak can feel like a loss of identity. When you lose someone you love, you might also lose the version of yourself that existed within that relationship. But this can also be an opportunity for self-discovery, a chance to peel back the layers and find out who you truly are when no one else is influencing your path. Rediscovering your passions. With the space that heartbreak creates, take the opportunity to explore your own interests, dive into a hobby, start a new project, or learn something you've always wanted to pursue. This isn't just a distraction. It's a way to reconnect with yourself. After her marriage ended, Clara took a painting class that she'd put off for years. She discovered a natural talent for art, and over time, her paintings became a form of therapy, a way to express the complex emotions she was navigating. Her newfound passion for painting didn't just help her heal. It became a calling that she pursued long after her heartbreak had faded, setting boundaries and building confidence. Relationships often blur the lines of our personal boundaries. Heartbreak is a powerful reminder of the importance of setting and maintaining these boundaries. As you rebuild, take time to define what you want from future relationships, friendships, and even your own personal life. Exploring spiritual growth. For many, heartbreak is a time when they turn inward, seeking comfort in spirituality, meditation, or self-reflection. This journey within can open doors to personal insights, a greater sense of purpose, and a deeper understanding of life's mysteries. Personal reflection. In the quiet months after my breakup, I began meditating daily. At first, it was just a way to calm my mind, but over time, it became a journey of spiritual growth. I realized that the peace I'd been searching for in the relationship was something I could cultivate within myself. This discovery shifted my entire perspective, helping me to approach future relationships with a sense of wholeness rather than neediness. One of the most rewarding aspects of transforming heartbreak into growth is the opportunity to build a new foundation, one rooted in self-awareness, resilience, and unconditional love. Developing self-love. Self-love is often talked about, but rarely practiced deeply. Heartbreak can reveal the ways in which we might have neglected ourselves. Use this time to cultivate a kinder relationship with yourself. Practical steps for self-love. Daily affirmations. Remind yourself of your worth with gentle affirmations each day. Setting goals. Pursue personal goals that align with your values and interests. Self-care practices. Prioritize your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Strengthening emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to adapt to life's ups and downs with grace. Through heartbreak, you learn to face your fears, embrace your vulnerability, and trust in your own ability to heal. Rediscovering joy in small moments. Heartbreak teaches us that life's greatest pleasures are often found in the simplest moments. A sunset, a quiet cup of coffee, a walk in nature. By slowing down and embracing these small joys, we find that happiness isn't tied to another person. It's something we can cultivate within ourselves. In mythology, the phoenix is a bird that rises from its own ashes, reborn and renewed. This image captures the essence of transformation through heartbreak. Just as the phoenix must pass through fire to be reborn, we, too, must allow ourselves to experience the full depth of our pain. Only then can we emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Consider the story of Leo, a man who went through a bitter divorce after 10 years of marriage. At first, he felt shattered. His life turned upside down. But over time, Leo began to rebuild. He learned to cook, spent weekends hiking, and found solace in writing. His divorce was the end of one chapter, but it was also the beginning of another. Today, Leo describes himself as more whole than he's ever been. He sees his heartbreak not as a failure, but as a transformation that brought him closer to his truest self. Transforming pain into growth isn't about forgetting or moving on. It's about integrating the experience into who you are, letting it shape you without allowing it to define you. Heartbreak becomes a stepping stone, not a stumbling block, guiding you toward a future built on resilience, love, and self-awareness. As you move forward, remember, you are not alone on this journey. Heartbreak is a universal experience, one that connects us to others in ways that words cannot capture. With each tear, each step, and each moment of courage, you are forging a new path, one that leads to a deeper, more authentic version of yourself. Heartbreak, though painful, is the fire that forges a stronger, more compassionate heart. And as you continue to grow, you will find that this journey is not just about healing. It's about becoming whole. Heartbreak is one of life's most profound teachers. It strips away our illusions of permanence and forces us to face the impermanence of all things. It challenges us to question what love truly means and to confront the expectations we've built around it. And though the process is painful, it's also transformative. Like a storm that clears the air, Heartbreak has the power to leave us with a clearer, deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. As the Buddha reminded us, life is fleeting, and love is precious. Each moment we spend with the people we cherish is a gift, and each experience, even the painful ones, contributes to the tapestry of our lives. Heartbreak, though it may feel like an end, is also a beginning. It's an opportunity to cry, to forgive, to reflect, and ultimately, to grow. Let me share a story about a man named Daniel. Daniel had been married for 25 years when his wife passed away suddenly. The grief was unimaginable. She had been his best friend, his partner, his everything. For months, Daniel couldn't bring himself to pack up her things or even step into the garden she had loved so much. But one day, as he sat in the quiet of their home, something shifted. He remembered a quote she had often repeated: "Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain." Slowly, Daniel began to rebuild. He started tending to the garden again, planting flowers in her memory. He began volunteering at a local shelter, using his time to bring comfort to others who were hurting. Through his pain, Daniel found a deeper understanding of love. It wasn't about holding on tightly or fearing loss. It was about cherishing the moments he had and letting that love live on in the way he cared for others. His heartbreak became a source of strength, reminding him of the beauty and fragility of life. If there's one thing heartbreak teaches us, it's this: life is not about avoiding pain, but about embracing it as part of the human experience. Every tear we shed, every ache we feel, is a testament to the depth of our love. And while loss may leave scars, those scars are reminders of the strength we've found in the face of adversity. Here's what we can take from this journey. Let go of expectations. So much of our suffering comes from clinging to how we think things should be. By letting go of these expectations, we open ourselves to the reality of what is, and in that reality, we can find peace. Embrace impermanence. Life is constantly changing, and that's what makes it beautiful. When we accept impermanence, we stop fearing loss and start cherishing the present moment. Allow yourself to feel. Healing doesn't come from suppressing your emotions. It comes from sitting with them, acknowledging them, and letting them flow. Cry if you need to, right? Talk, feel. Turn pain into growth. Let your heartbreak be the starting point for something new. Use it to deepen your empathy, to strengthen your resilience, and to connect with others in meaningful ways. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with a question. What would your life look like if you let go of expectations and embraced the impermanence of all things? Imagine the freedom of loving without fear, of living without clinging, of cherishing each moment for exactly what it is. Take a moment to reflect on this. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might just inspire someone else who's walking a similar path. And remember, healing is not just about moving on, it's about becoming whole. It's about integrating your pain, your joy, and your love into a life that's richer and more authentic. From everyone here at the Tranquil Mind, thank you for joining us on this journey. Heartbreak is never easy, but you don't have to face it alone. Together, we can learn, grow, and find peace in the midst of life's challenges. As you step forward, know that you are stronger than you think. You are more resilient than you realize. And most importantly, you are loved, not just for who you've been or who you're becoming, but for exactly who you are in this moment.
So go ahead.
Cry if you need to. Forgive yourself and others. Reflect on the lessons life has brought you, and let those tears nourish the seeds of your future happiness. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're so grateful to have you here. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other. From all of us at the Tranquil Mind, we wish you peace, love, and healing. See you in the next video.